some disturbing footage has come out featuring A'ja Wilson and her entire Las Vegas Aces team trying to pretty much flop, assault, do whatever they can to get that win yesterday, but it was just not enough, guys. This is some disturbing content.
As soon as the cameras, fans were shocked to see what transpired between AIA Wilson and Lexie Hull. Four-time MVP Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces spokesperson became the focus of a controversy after a video emerged showing her in.
Man, listen.
Lexie Hull was getting pushed all game. Look at that. Like elbowed, pushed, but guess who fell? That's an illegal screen.
Look, illegal screens at this point, they playing dirty.
What many people refer to as a moment of aggression and recklessness. This time, rather than commemorating her customary supremacy on the court, the headlines weren't centered on her leadership, her rebounds, or her scoring. They concerned whether she went too far. Fever followers took to social media to demand accountability, while AC's supporters rushed to defend their star. The fact that the play was performed during a period when feelings were already running hot only made matters worse, including fueling the flames. This was no ordinary foul. It was the type of incident that provokes debate and raises concerns about the real legacy of a celebrity.
What the hell? What the hell? Y'all playing super duper dirty. But this is how they was playing. Let's see.
Leans into Lexie Hull, pushes her. Look at this. Pushes Lexie Hull down. Like, I can't take this crap. I'm sick of watching it over and over. That's a moving screen. And then pushes her again. Look at that.
A single event caught on camera and repeatedly replayed on social media was the beginning of it all. Wilson, the Las Vegas Aces' current star and four-time league MVP, was spotted battling Indiana fever. Protect Lexie Hull in what seemed to be a premeditated violent crime. Initially, it appeared to be simply another tense move in a game with significant stakes. However, as the slow-motion viewpoints started to circulate, admirers noticed something considerably darker. Hull staggered back in agony as Wilson's arm made hard contact.
So Kalen was calling flop. I'm pretty sure everybody's seeing them flopping all over the damn place. I mean, they was hella flopping in this game. I mean, it was bad, bro.
What started out as a typical defensive fight swiftly turned into the night's main dispute. Minutes after the footage being shared, there was a deluge of polarizing opinions on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Some admirers labeled it right away an attack on the court, claiming that Wilson should be suspended because he had gone too far. Others dismissed it as playoff-level violence, claiming the Fever players were just making things up to win people over. The division was sharp. However, one thing was evident. This was not a clip that would go away without a trace. The moment was rendered even more combustible by the context.
I just gotta be honest. I just gotta keep it real. But at this point, like, when is something's going to be done? You know what I'm saying? Like, when is they going to, like, somehow fix this or somehow, you know, like, I know they kind of fixed the whistle for the most part, but I don't know, man. Something just got to be done, bro.
Following a run of poor games against the resurgent Aces, Wilson and the team were already under pressure. The Indiana Fever. The Fever had been ignited by Caitlin Clark's presence and coupled with the team was suddenly viewed as fearless giants because to Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Alternatively, the Aces were under fire for appearing smug and unduly dependent on their reputation rather than working hard for victories. Wilson's angry behavior toward Lexie Hull in that setting didn't simply appear to be exasperation. It also appeared like despair. Hull's response was what further stoked the controversy, known as. Despite Hull's reputation as one of the league's toughest defenders, she was clearly disturbed following the incident. Admirers emphasized how Wilson looked down upon her as she attempted to get her bearings, and photographed with captions that quickly went viral, such as "Bullying won't save you now," and "This is what losing looks like." It wasn't only about the actual hit. It concerned the real-time disintegration of a celebrity's image. The referees, The response was criticized. Instead, it appeared to Fever supporters that officials were once again defending star power, of maintaining equity. Videos of Wilson's performance being dismissed while many less serious offenses were committed by Fever circulated. Players were called right away.
Something just got to be done with these referees, letting them just play dirty because they play dirty.
Here we go. A'ja Wilson. Look at her trying to flop to get a call. Nobody touch you. And this is the biggest bullcrap of the game. So Kelsey Mitchell goes in for a layup. A'ja Wilson shows them their lip, so they review it. Ever see an Indiana Fever player get a review when they're called for a foul and they zoom in with a microscope and call it technical?
This contributed to a long-running story that the league goes out of its way to maintain the untouchability of its marquee names, even if integrity is sacrificed. By the end, the clip has devolved into more than just a bad highlight of the evening. It served as a symbol. Wilson's detractors claim that it symbolized entitlement and haughtiness, a reluctance to acknowledge that her power was being questioned. For those who support her, it was only an exaggerated incident during a competitive moment. But regardless of your stance, one question persisted. Across the league, had A'ja Wilson simply gone too far and couldn't turn back? Additionally, if the play was, the confusion was only exacerbated by the startling events that transpired in the hours that followed.
They called a technical on Kelsey Mitchell and then called a foul on her on this play.
Wow.
And then look at this. This is ridiculous. Michaela Timpson gets a foul called for. And look at, Becky Hammond. Sit down just because your team's getting killed. Look at this. Another legal screen by A'ja Wilson. You cannot stick your leg out on when you're setting screens. A'ja Wilson. Look at that foul they called for.
Following the release of the video featuring A'ja Wilson and Lexie Hull, the internet become a battleground. In a WNBA game, what could have been dismissed as simply another rough play went haywire into a whirlwind of viral content. The video was slowed down, cut, and repeated by fans. And more. Analyzing every point of view as if it were evidence in a court of law. The argument wasn't limited to if Wilson had done something wrong, was wondering whether or not her whole superstar legacy was starting to fall apart. Trending hashtags like #JusticeForLexie and #SuspendAAWilson. Hours. Fever supporters contended that the penalty would have been instantaneous if the roles had been switched. They shared instances of lesser-known players who were punished for less aggressive contact, arguing that this demonstrated the league's was skewed towards star protection. Some even explicitly named WNBA officials, requesting that Wilson be penalized or suspended. If the league lets this slide, they're basically saying rules don't apply to MVPs, a member of the public wrote. Post with thousands of likes. Fans of AC, meanwhile, hurried to Wilson's argument, claiming that Hull overstated the impact to elicit pity. They had a straightforward debate. The Fever are renowned for. Wilson was simply giving them a taste of their own medicine by playing rough and tumble basketball. Elia Boston clips. Kelsey Mitchell driving into contact and laying hard screens were cited as proof that Indiana is a cruel state. As well, the argument swiftly shifted from being about a single bird to becoming a proxy conflict. Concerns toughness, partiality, and women's basketball's very identity. On tick. The creators of Talk went crazy with the play's breakdowns. Slow-motion edits were employed by some, using dramatic music to paint Wilson as a villain, yet others made fun of the exaggeration, implying that the success, if not for the Fever's growing popularity, it wouldn't have made it onto a highlight reel. The virality of the footage wasn't only in relation to basketball, but had to do with stories. At that time, Wilson was more than just an athlete. She turned into a fans of a drama couldn't stop watching this character. What made matters worse was the reaction from former analysts and players. A few former professionals suggested that Wilson's actions were more indicative of exasperation than malice. However, larger voices asserting that she had crossed a professional line overshadowed their remarks. ESPN. The scene was repeatedly reproduced by portions. Panelists' opinions on whether it was either a competitive fire or a deliberate cheap shot. It solidified itself the more it was discussed. As the season's focal point, highlight shows and fan edits weren't the only consequences. A rush of memes. Instagram featuring a single, widely shared shot of Wilson facing Hull while wearing boxing gloves. An additional showed her MVP awards shattering in two, commenting, "How many honors before responsibility?" It was cruel, and Wilson's name continued to trend for all the wrong reasons, and by the end of the week, what ought to have been a discussion concerning games and officiating had exploded into a cultural phenomenon. A Wilson, the league's star player, was currently portrayed by many as its most contentious figure, and as fans were occupied with online side-picking one. The WNBA itself was a deafeningly silent group, and when the league remained silent, it simply served to feed rumors that things were going to get more uglier. Many people anticipated the WNBA to intervene as the indignation reached a fever pitch. After all, officials typically take swift action when a scandal jeopardizes the league's biggest star's reputation. Quick to defend the player or make a comment to bring the situation back under control, but this time there was none. Press statement, no disciplinary action, and not even a passing reference to the widely shared video that had the sports world. Fans lost no time in speaking up since that silence was more powerful than any form of discipline, highlighting the hypocrisy. For fans of the Indiana Fever, the absence of their greatest fears that the league will stop at nothing to preserve its stars were validated by action, and comment threads were full of, with irate voices claiming that the WNBA would have immediately suspended a rookie or role player for the same play. Fans claimed that officials had revived footage of Caitlin Clark getting knocked down earlier in the season, ignored obvious contact at that time to different criteria for different names. One post echoed the idea that became popular on all platforms. The league's inaction encouraged conspiracy theories, hypotheses. Wilson's MVP status and sponsorship deals, according to some fans, made her untouchable. Said that with Caitlin Clark generating enormous ratings, the WNBA was attempting to preserve its marketing narrative. Wilson is the league's well-known face, so suspending her may upset the delicate balance between. For reviewers, the quiet regarding old guard and new wave wasn't limited to a single bird. It was on the politics of brand protection. Analysts started to wonder what the WNBA was trying to say by remaining silent. On podcasts and debate shows, pundits contended that the league's reputation was at stake. If authorities wanted to emphasize justice, they had to take ownership of the toughness and brutality they wished to foster. They had to demonstrate this by holding Wilson responsible. Otherwise, the league came out as feeble, and that story quickly gained traction, and fans began to wonder if the WNBA Fever teammates stood resolutely, while the players themselves appeared divided, and the team was losing control of its image, implying in interviews that the violence had veered into dangerous territory behind Lexie Hull. Conversely, players closed ranks around Wilson, dismissing inquiries with prepared statements about only playing difficult. The difference only served to heighten the intensity and provide supporters with more points of contention about partiality and unfairness. The silence also let the situation get out of control. Without an official position, social media controlled the narrative. Each meme, each viral video, each anger from fans became a part of the story, portraying the WNBA as cowardly or complicit. Staying out of the discourse in an attempt to shield its stars simply made matters worse because it appeared like they had